With E3 2021 right around the corner, that means we're finally gonna see Brewster coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons. Oh my gosh, guys, it's real! The cafe, the Roost, it's coming back! Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe all the rumors were not fake. There's no way. I mean, it's gotta be real, right? Okay, with all seriousness, like I said, E3's coming up. It's really soon, and it's expected to see, we're gonna see a lot of new Nintendo stuff. Is there a possibility we'll see something New Horizons related? Is there gonna be a potential for a new trailer, for a new update, for new content coming to the game? I think honestly, our best chance for getting some sort of new content coming to the game would be coming up at this next E3 presentation. So let's talk about how realistic it would be for that to appear in Nintendo's presentation. What realistically we can expect to be in said trailer, everything Animal Crossing related, what can we expect to see at E3 2021? But before we get started, of course, if you are new here, perhaps consider subscribing. We do tons of Animal Crossing as well as Nintendo content, especially with E3 coming around the corner. We're gonna, of course, react to it right here on YouTube Live. In addition to that, tons of videos taking a deeper dive, talking more about all the games that are announced and stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun, so definitely subscribe if you're new. Anyways, with all that said, without further ado, let's get started. To catch you up to speed on the Animal Crossing community, people have been very thirsty and dying for any sort of new update coming to the game. It just blows my mind to look at the feed of Animal Crossing YouTube or Twitter or whatever, and everyone's just like, Brewster's coming to the game, new update, rumored update, 2.0 update, and there's been like literally no evidence of that happening whatsoever. And am I gonna clickbait this video with that exact same title? Oh, of course, absolutely. But I'm going to try to break it down realistically and level expectations rather than getting people super excited for something that's never been confirmed. And I think that's the biggest problem going into this year's E3 is a lot of people in the Animal Crossing community are expecting some amazing, huge, brand new update. As you saw last year, it did fine announcing its own trailers on its own time, kind of hosting its own mini events, right? So it doesn't, I guess what I'm saying, it doesn't necessarily need to be in an E3 Direct presentation to still get a lot of hype around it. It can just be a one-off trailer on its own thing. But at the same time, I mean, Nintendo Directs are the place where a lot of eyes are looking, a lot of people in the industry are watching. This is a great time to show off new updates coming to older games and, of course, announce newer games. And a lot of people are coming to the conclusion, since we haven't heard anything from the Animal Crossing devs in, gosh, since I guess the last update was the San Reno update with the Amiibo villagers. The other update before that was the Mario Day update, was, you know, back in March. And by the way, it's June. Where does the time go, honestly? And then well before that was the Festival update back in January. And that was arguably the biggest content update, since the latter two were just some new villagers as well as a collection of new furniture. So the point being is there hasn't been really a big update coming to the game in such a long time. So a lot of people are like, okay, when's the next new big update? And so the conclusion has been drawn that E3 is the place for that to show off. And that makes sense. Honestly, I'll admit, if Nintendo is bringing another new update to Animal Crossing, it does make a lot of sense to show it here at E3, shove in a quick 3-minute trailer or however long it's going to be within their presentation to display some of the new features that could be coming to the game, to kind of like, you know, give some new content for the summer. Because it has been a while since we've gotten a really concrete or big update, sure, I guess you can kind of think, oh, maybe this one's going to be really big. Since they've like kind of had the previous couple updates like really low on content, this next one, you know, they've been saving all the new content for this next big one. Well, maybe true. That could be like one side of it. But I think the more realistic side of it is that the fact that the developers who work on Animal Crossing, the people who are making the updates, are starting to move on to different projects. They're slowing down the production of new updates coming to the game because they're moving on from New Horizons. They're moving on to new games to work on new projects. I've mentioned plenty of times before, a lot of the developers that have worked on New Horizons share in common with the developers that work on the Splatoon series. And because they announced Splatoon 3, a lot of those developers are more likely moving over to that project to work on Splatoon 3 so it can release next year. Does that mean there's gonna be no new Animal Crossing updates? I don't think so. I think we'll still bound to get some smaller updates here and there. Similar to kind of what we got in the last update, where it was not even a real trailer. It was just a quick Twitter thread with a couple of new seasonal items and saying, oh, by the way, you know, the holidays that we had last year, they're getting some new items too. So basically what I'm saying is the next updates for Animal Crossing can go one of two ways. It's going to either continue down the path we saw previously with the Twitter update, where it's just like, hey, here's a quick thread, here's some new items coming to the game, here's some new seasonal items and stuff, here's a couple of new things that are going to be in the holidays that are already in the game, and that might just be the workflow from the next year and going forward for the rest of the life of this game, sadly. And then on the other hand, they could do a bigger update. And I really do think E3 is probably the last opportunity for something like that to be shown off. I really do think this is the time, this is the place. It's been long enough since the big enough update. So yes, I really do think if they're going to show off a bigger update, this is the place to show it off. But I don't know if it's worth going in with those expectations, because here's the thing. If a big update is not shown off here at this year's E3, what it'll very likely mean is that's the end. If there is no bigger update, a bigger trailer shown off at E3, I think it's very likely to assume that going forward, we're going to kind of get what we've seen already. Twitter threads, smaller updates, seasonal items, and that's just kind of what it's going to be for the rest of this year, and effectively, I guess, the rest of the life cycle of this game. Which is, of course, very sad. There could be a lot of fun things they could update to the game. But I've said many times before, it doesn't make sense for Nintendo to keep updating a game, to keep the developers working on a game people already paid for, rather than working on a new game that people could go and purchase. New Horizons brought way more people into the series than Nintendo ever expected it would, and it's in their best interest. Instead of continuing to update New Horizons for free, they could make another new Animal Crossing game. Not necessarily a mainline game, but like a spin-off Animal Crossing game. Could be a great way to get a lot of that audience to buy another new Animal Crossing game. Don't act like you watching this video. If Nintendo announced a new Animal Crossing game like next year or something like that, you would buy it. Of course you would, because that's awesome. Another new Animal Crossing game, some spin-off, some new way to interact with these characters. Of course you're gonna buy it. And from a business perspective, that's exactly what Nintendo wants to do. They want to make money off their products. They don't want to just make you buy one game and that's the last game you'll ever buy from them. They're a for-profit business, and of course they're going to want to continue to make more money. So making new Animal Crossing games or making new games in general is going to make them more money rather than updating a game that you already own for free. So if I had to pick what I think is realistically going to happen, I don't want to write it off entirely. A bigger update could come, but I personally am going to go into E3 with very low expectations. Matter of fact, I will be pleasantly surprised if Animal Crossing appears at all at E3. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be focusing more on newer games that they haven't even announced that are going to come out throughout the summer and later into the fall. Focus on some games that are coming out in the following year, because as they even mentioned in their Twitter post, that they're primarily going to be focusing on games coming out this year, but with some minor exceptions, of course. While sure, it said it's a 40-minute presentation, and that does seem like a really big direct, but at the same time, there's a lot coming to Switch. There's a lot of third-party games, a lot of indie games that they often like to showcase. So while 40 minutes seems like a long presentation, you can still run out of time with even just that alone. Just depends how much time they dedicate to each game. So for my money, for what I'm thinking anyways, I don't know if we're going to see Animal Crossing at E3. Honestly, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer about it, but I don't want to go in with this expectation of, oh, they're going to bring Brewster, they're going to bring Tortimer's Island, they're going to bring the biggest, massive update you've ever seen to the game. And then we go there, and then the trailer that is shown off, it's just like, oh, guess what? I don't know, there's new fireworks stuff, there's new diving suit fish, I guess. It could be just a trailer where they iterate upon the summer updates that were released last year and just adding a couple of new things there, which would be cool. Don't get me wrong, it's something to do. I just don't think it's realistic for fans to go in with the expectation thinking there's going to be this massive new Animal Crossing update coming down the road that we're going to see at this E3 trailer. I don't think it's fair to the developers to expect that, but I also don't think it's fair to us, because we're going to go in with this expectation and just frankly walk away really disappointed. And that's not what we want to do. So my best advice to everyone who's so hungry and wanting new Animal Crossing content is just, you know what? Enjoy what you have. Enjoy Animal Crossing New Horizons for what it was, and go into E3 with just an open mind, right? If you go in with the mentality that Animal Crossing isn't even going to be shown off at all, there's no way you'll be disappointed, because if Animal Crossing isn't there, then that's exactly what you expected, right? If Animal Crossing is a very small, minor update that's not very impressive, then hey, that's more than what you're expecting anyways, because you didn't think there was going to be Animal Crossing at all. And then if there's even a big update, which is that's like a pie-in-the-sky dream, then you're going to be even more surprised and excited. Would I love to be proved wrong? Of course. And I don't mean to make everyone like sad and upset that there might not be a new big Animal Crossing update, but the fact of the matter is that might be a possibility. It just might be it. And I think it's important for fans to be prepared for that to be a reality, rather than going into E3 with this expectation of something being massively amazing and walking away like, wow, so no Animal Crossing? The point of E3, the point of these trailers, the point of these directs and all that fun stuff, it's a celebration of Nintendo gaming. It's a way to get excited for the new games coming to Switch. So what's the point if you're just gonna walk away upset or frustrated or about whatever isn't or is coming to Switch? I don't know. For me anyways, I just like to have fun with these things, and I think it's totally okay if they're going to be moving on from Animal Crossing New Horizons, and the updates are going to be continuing to slow down from here on out. But anyways, what do you guys think about the potential of Animal Crossing New Horizons being at E3? What are your expectations? Do you really hope there's going to be a big new update? Do you think that's realistic? Do you think it'll be just some smaller update, kind of like what they did with the Twitter thread earlier this spring? Or Do we think you won't even see it at all? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the discussion going. I know this is a touchy topic for many of you, because I know many of you are hoping we're going to see something Animal Crossing related, or expecting something big, but I'd love to have the discussion down in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big awesome like, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe for tons more on Animal Crossing New Horizons, as well as Nintendo E3 coverage. As a reminder, we will be streaming the Nintendo Direct live on Tuesday at, I think it's like 9 a.m. Pacific or something like that. We're going to be streaming and reacting to it all together. It's going to be a lot of fun. As a quick reminder, the live stream schedule, our typical weekend live stream schedule, is going to be off for a little while. I'm actually going to be traveling for like the next month all over the place, so I won't be doing a more routine schedule, but I'll try to slide in some weeknight live streams on YouTube, as well as maybe on our Twitch as well. To keep up to date on everything we do there and when we'll be live streaming, be sure to follow me over on my Twitter, as well as join our community Discord. It's a great way to keep up to date with everything that's going on. And I mean, the Discord's also a great place to find friends to play Switch with. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you all again so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!